Yes.
So yesterday, the Suns introduced all of their rookies. And then afterwards, Brian Gregory, the general manager, kind of did a media scrum off to the side in which he took questions about the Kevin Durant trade, acquiring Jalen Green, the younger players, things like that. And we were able, Tim, to kind of get into the nuts and bolts a little bit of some of the moves that were made last week, some of which were more confounding than others. What happened on draft night was great with my watch. That was fantastic. But then the Mark Williams trade almost minutes after, it was like, well, wait a minute, what are we doing here? How many centers do you need? And is he going to block them? And now you're giving up a first-round pick for another center when you just drafted one. Then there's the whole backcourt pairing of Green and Booker in the first place and how that's going to work. Brian Gregory yesterday was asked a question, and it was a really fair, good question to ask. Why do you think Green and Booker will work better than Beal and Booker? And here's what he said.
Well, I'll just talk about Jalen and Booker. Again, as I mentioned, I think there's a speed factor that's being played in the NBA right now. They're both great with the ball. I think they can play off each other when they don't have the ball. I think our style of play, playing at a faster pace with better movement, is going to open up the court for both of them. And I do think that you're going to see our ability on the defensive end with more perimeter pressure, that both those guys will really, their ability off the ball, as other guys are pressuring the ball, to play passing lanes and to read things. They both have unbelievable anticipatory skills defensively. And I think they're going to be really, really good in that. So I think you're going to see them play well together, not only on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end.
You know what I think of when I hear that? I think that you could have asked Brian Gregory a year ago while Bradley Beal and Devin Booker would play so well in the backcourt, and he might have given you exactly the same answer. I mean, see, like I'm listening to it, I'm going, okay, but, and I know he didn't want to address Beal and he didn't want to talk about that, and I respect that. But at the same time, I'm listening to it, I'm thinking this is probably the same way you would have answered a question about Beal and Booker and why it's going to work together, right?
Like, it's a lot of times the way the Suns did answer those questions. When Beal was acquired during the first season, heading into the second season, Brian Gregory, look, I'm sure in a perfect world, he would have loved a better positional fit in a return for Kevin Durant. Unfortunately, that's not what the Rockets were offering.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to take the best deal on the table. And although a lot of people hated that trade, I have no doubt the Suns took the best deal on the table to a team in terms of where Durant wanted to go and would be willing to sign that extension. So I'm quite certain Jalen Green can be fine at the 2. It's Booker at the 1. And maybe Jordan Ott can unlock some stuff that Budenholzer and Vogel couldn't. But you're still playing Devin Booker out of his primary position, and I just don't like that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not going to work. Maybe it will work with different personnel, but it's not ideal.
Yeah, I feel better about it because I understand we're in the era of, to a certain extent, positionless basketball. We just kind of saw the Indiana Pacers make their run to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, that's what we heard going into the Big Three era.
But that's exactly the point I was going to make. I'd feel a little bit better about this if this were newer. Instead, I kind of feel like we've seen this movie before. We saw this movie for the last 2 years. Like to your point about Beal and Booker, we've seen all the different iterations and combinations of trying to make that work, and none of them ever did. And I feel like if we had never seen Devin Booker playing next to a guard with a similar skill set to his, I might think to myself, okay, well, let's give it a try. Let's see how this works. But we have seen it. We saw it for 2 years. And it didn't work. It didn't work so badly to the point where they went out and, like you said, they went out and got Tyus Jones to be their point guard, kind of with the expectation he'd be a starter, which was a little bit out of his league. He wasn't really a starting point guard.
A little ambitious
with that. So it's like you could sell me on this working if I hadn't already seen it fail for the last 2 years. And that's where I'm deeply concerned about its ability. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if a year from right now, they organizationally are reassessing Jalen Green and whether, You know, do we look to move him? Does he have a market? Can we flip him? Can we do something else? Now that we're not under this second apron, can we do something different? Like if they go through a year and they see it's just not working, then it might be time to reassess and do something else.
And I don't know if I like that. I will like we're to spend a year to figure out something that a couple of dopes on the radio are saying right now. I mean, I mean, because
call us what we're microphone jockeys. You called us that earlier. I prefer that phrase.
I've downgraded us to dopes.
I'm going to demand. Yeah, no, you don't call us dopes. I'm going to demand in my next contract I be referred to as a microphone jockey. Thank you very much.
What about microphone dopes? How about just combine the two?
No dopes. There's
dope jockeys.
Hey, whoa, hey.
What do you do for a living? I'm a dope jockey. Yeah, great, fantastic. That's gonna look great on my Indeed or my my LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm a dope jockey.
Hashtag open to work.
Anyway.
I just think we've seen Devin Booker play at an All NBA level when he had a great point guard, and so that to me is where Devin Booker shines. He can point book he can do it. There's no. It's not like he's terrible at it. He can do it.
There are times where he's brilliant at it. There are times where it's like, oh my God, this was the role you were born to play. And then other times it's just clunky and awkward, and everyone's trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, and it doesn't work at all.
In a perfect world, you'd like him to be. If he's going to have to do that, you'd like him to be like in the Jamal Murray mold, where he's the point guard, but he gets plenty of shots, and he's lethal, and he's great, and he's won a title, and like that. Like that's the best version of that, but. He doesn't seem to play like Jamal Murray when he's playing the point.
Speaking of awkward combinations, Brian Gregory also admitted yesterday the plan wasn't always intended for them to get Kaman Maluach and Mark Williams on the same night, and yet that's how it worked out.
We had the trade for Mark started to happen. Kaman was number 1 on our list at 10 if available. So I'm not sure, a week before we thought that was going to be, but as we progressed through the first day of the draft, it became more of a reality, and we made the decision to go for it.
And see that I'm trying to figure out which one in my mind, and I'm sure the right answer is Jalen Green and Devin Booker, but which situation is more potentially problematic? 2 players starting in the same backcourt who play the same position, or 2 centers, one of whom you gave up 2 first-round picks to get, but who's going into his walk year, who might potentially be blocking the path of the guy that you picked 10th overall. That's not an ideal situation either.
Well, and again, do they have the ability to pull back the Williams trade when Maluach became available, or wasn't there a contingency plan? Like, hey, we'll do this trade if Maluach is not available, if he's already picked. Or maybe these are our 2 guys. Like we're gonna build around 2 centers, and they're gonna split time, and one's gonna groom the other one, and we don't know what the future holds for Mark Williams long term. But like I talked about yesterday, I guess from a team building standpoint, they're not gonna play together. So you either give up 2 first-round draft picks for a backup center, or you spent the number 10 pick in the draft for a backup center, or if Mark Williams is not part of the plan long term, that's fine. You gave up 2 first-round picks to get him, but if you do deal him, then who are you getting for him? So it's not you didn't just waste Mark Williams. I mean, so I don't know how it's all going to turn out.
And I don't want to sit here and make it sound like the draft picks they gave up were super great anyway, but they were also the only ones you had. I mean, you don't have a ton of inventory to be able to go wasting first-round draft. I understand they're going to be in their late 20s, and the value there is somewhat limited, but they're also. You don't have very many assets that you were available trading. You just spent one on a center who is either going to only be here for a year or who could potentially block the way of the guy that you drafted 10th overall. I loved everything they did around the draft. We talked about this yesterday. I really, really did. That one just baffled me. That one I just didn't understand the mechanism there that okay, but what happens a year from now? Are you going to re-sign Mark Williams to a contract? Because when you do that, now there's expectations.
You're stunting the growth of Maluach.
And you're stunting the growth. And I understand Maluach is only 18 years old, but he's the 10th pick in the draft. Like, at some point, you're going to have to find out when the rubber meets the road what this kid can do, and you're going to have to play him.
Or BG is playing checkers, and he's going to turn Mark Williams into a better positional fit and a player that helps you win in the long term, and a guy that maybe you couldn't have gotten with the 29th pick in the draft
And I don't have time to play it, but there was also a comment yesterday from Brian Gregory about how, yes, we're aware Mark Williams has an injury history, but when he gets to, and I'm paraphrasing here, but we're confident that our training staff will be able to figure that out.
That's what I heard that about Beal too.
And yeah, that just makes me a little, like I'm sure you've got a great training staff, but I'm not sure we should. They've got the Midas touch like that to be able to fix something that, he's basically played half the games he's eligible to play in, I think, Mark Williams in his early stage of his career. Yeah. So,
by the way, before break, I just want everybody to know, I played high school basketball against Brian Gregory.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yep. He's a year older.
Scouting report?
He's a way better player than me.
Okay.
He's about 5'8", but he played about 6'4".
Okay. Oh, wow.
Fantastic player. Almost took his high school to the state championship.
Really?
Hell of a player.
Wow. Okay.
Hell of a player. And if you notice, he has not lost that Chicago accent.
No, he has not. You have.
I have.
You have. He hasn't.
He has not. Well, I needed to. He doesn't need to.
Well, you're in broadcasting. He can talk with the Chicago accent all he wants.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.